these people in a room somewhere in San Francisco built this thing in like a couple weeks. Within overnight, hundreds of millions of dollars is pouring into this thing. The rates are going insane. So everyone wants to get involved because everyone's making a ton of money. But the whole thing was a fugazi. It was like it didn't mean anything. Like, and this is the bad part of crypto. So yes, people were earning money, but at some point, things need to be reset because for every winner, there's always a loser. Now we're gonna get into the yams. So this happened like a week ago.
I'm gonna lose all my money.
Yeah,
I'm gonna lose all
you
my
probably
money.
will. You gotta ask me before you buy into this stuff. For disclaimer, anybody doing this, you will.
This is a late disclaimer.
You could lose all your money. Be careful. So like a week ago, this group of people who didn't know how to code, that it's rumored that they're mostly investors. They made this thing called yam.finance, and it's what you think. It's supposed to be like the potato, and the brand, the logo was like the potato emoji. You could look them up on Twitter. I think it's Yam Finance. And they basically created this tool where you could lend out your money at really high rates. So in your bank account, you're probably getting like maybe 1% per year. Last week, it was about 25% per day. So
I think that's why I just went on their website and they had like 3 different warnings to like not use the site.
Exactly. So this is what happened. A bunch of people made, and this is kind of what we were talking about, how it's dangerous. These people didn't know how to code. If anyone's ever listens to this, I'm sorry that I'm offending you for the people who created it. But they weren't very good coders. This thing was working. So people from around the world, in about 2 days, there was over $200 million locked in these contracts. So like a lot of money from around the world poured into this
People in their bedrooms?
Yes. So that's the beauty of this. These people in a room somewhere in San Francisco built this thing in like a couple weeks. Within overnight, hundreds of millions of dollars is pouring into this thing. The rates are going insane. So everyone wants to get involved because everyone's making a ton of money. But the whole thing was a fugazi. It was like it didn't mean anything. Like, and this is the bad part of crypto. So yes, people were earning money, but at some point, things need to be reset because for every winner, there's always a loser, right? It's not like we're just printing value out of nowhere. So the code had a bug in it, and they tweeted out like, like in about 4 hours, when this thing is supposed to happen, it's going to break. And we need to all vote to fix it. Because in blockchain, you don't just change the code. You vote with your tokens and like things change. So I woke up in the middle of the night. This was like 3 a.m. like a week ago. And everyone was like, should we vote on the thing or should we not vote on the thing? Because to vote, you had to stop earning your 25% per day. So everyone's like, I don't want to lose my money. I'm going to let everyone else vote. But you've reached the tragedy of the commons because then everyone's like, I'm not going to vote.
There's only one dude voting.
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone wants their money.
Do either of you listen to Reply All, the podcast?
No.
Okay. There's this episode about this like prolific New York artist named Zendulu, and she trains these rats. And basically she was behind Pizza Rat and like some other viral things. And maybe I'll send it to you, Dylan, to put in the show notes, but I think Zendulu might have made Yam. It's just a bunch of rats.
That's Belky. Add into the podcast.
All right.
Ponzi expert.
Okay, so were you in on this, Ian?
Yeah, so I was farming it's called yield farming, and everyone puts the little farmer emoji in their Twitter. Crypto Twitter's a big world. So I was farming the yams. I wasn't in on it. I didn't make it. But I was farming the yams, and then I get the call, and I have to wake up in the middle of the night, and we're like, should we vote? And everyone around the world is kind of like tweeting, like, are we going to vote? Are we not? And eventually everyone was a good person around the world, and enough people decided, yes, we're going to vote. So they clicked yes, they voted. But when they voted, they found out there was another bug in the way the votes are counted because these people can't code. So there was even though we voted to fix the first bug, there's a second problem. And now the money, it's not going to work. It's broken forever. So the price starts dumping, and people around the world are paying hundreds of dollars per transaction. Everyone's losing thousands of dollars.
Bank run?
Yeah, it's a bank run. It was literally a run on the bank for this potato coin. I like woke up in the middle of the night. I had to sell it all. And the thing absolutely dumped. People lost so much money. And the guy was tweeting like, I'm a failure. Like I'm a terrible developer. Like I've ruined lives. Like people lost their fortunes. And it was crazy.
So,
and
there,
the whole
there
point.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the whole point of this is that in this world, a group of people can code up this thing, millions of dollars from around the world can fill into it in a couple of days, and then it's a free-for-all around the world. It's like a big multiplayer game. Like, what are we going to do with it?
Right. Okay. So this is different. Okay, Apple, when they first introduced the iPod, right? It's about to roll out. Steve Jobs is pissed that the headphone jack doesn't click, and they have to recall them all.
Yeah.
But like Apple tells its shareholders, like things will be okay. We'll fix this. Yes, it takes a dip, and it goes. Why couldn't the founder of Yam just be like, let's keep this money locked in here and like just fix this thing and do it somewhere else?
Yeah. So that's like one of the core things of the blockchain. Once the code's on the blockchain, you can't change it.
Oh.
So that's why these things are incredibly important to get right. And that's why it's dangerous. Because if something's broken, you can't change it. You know?
That sounds like a major downside.
Well, so here's the problem. Is it
good and
like,
bad? Yeah.
I said Enron before, but Enron, all these investors, no one actually looked at the books and like paid fine attention to all the details. So is that what happened here? No one looked at the actual code in the first place and just believed everyone else?
Yeah. And like I said, it's a lot of degenerates and no one bothered to check on the code. And the problems were like very trivial, like problems in the way you do multiplication.
That's so sad.
Like,
oh,
you know,
wow, that's so sad.
it was brutal.
So even you though, do you just try? I mean, you're a farmer, which means
right.
you were solving the little puzzles or whatever you want to call them that they put up.
Yeah.
It's like
to
Farmville?
create the blockchain. It's all kind of confusing, but like, what were your thoughts? Like, oh, you just trusted that it was going to be worth something, that it had merit?
Yeah. So just
because if I might add, it sounds like you got caught kind of day trading.
I did. I got out fast enough, so I was fine. But one thing I'll say here is like, this is a new thing that's been happening this month, these types of schemes, and it's kind of like 2017 all over again. There's a lot of crypto that's like actually good, and you know, people are getting loans using dollars. This is the degenerate side, but it's more fun. So the reason I was doing it is because it's kind of like a Ponzi scheme, right? Like if I can see the rules of the game and I know I can play for a little bit before getting burned, I'm going to play and try to outsmart everyone else. And if I'm correct, then I can make some money. If I'm wrong,
so it's just degenerates versus degenerate. I mean, not call you that.
It is. I'm being a degenerate. It's great. So yesterday we got deep into Yams got hacked, you know, and we're on to the next, and Spaghetti Coin pops up. Spaghetti.money is the website for this one.
Wait, before we go to Spaghetti, I see on their site things are headed over to Yam version 2. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so Yam V2 is like the new hot thing, and now people are buying the Yams again. So
you're back in it.
We're back. The Yams are back. And the whole point of this is, yes, these things are kind of absurd, but it is cool that like a kid in his bedroom can code something and get hundreds of millions of dollars interacting with it. Because
that's right.
These things suck, but you could also build something that's great. Like, you know, the code doesn't have to be bad.
How did they go from finishing the build of Yam last week and people start piling on millions of dollars?
It's literally memes on Twitter and Reddit and 4chan. And that's what's so interesting about this space. It's like, that's why their logo was a potato. Everything that was tweeted was about potatoes. There were actual memes made. 4chan took over, Reddit blew up. And all these things operate. They basically live on Reddit and Twitter. And people from around the world, like internet weirdos who know about this stuff, get involved. And it's just, that's why this is so interesting. It's a new precedent. Like people literally make memes on Twitter. They put this code on the blockchain, and then money from around the world floods. Wow. And it's like you can't put an app on the App Store and do that. It's just not possible.
Right.
You can't do that. And that's why this is kind of wild.
Spaghetti. I need to know.
the spaghetti. So the yam thing created this template of like I don't want to call it a scheme because some of them are actually decent, but ever since that, these things have been popping up. There's the Yam V2. There's one called Taco Coin. There's Cream.finance. There's Spaghetti Coin. There's like 20 of them. And they're all food. And they all have like food emojis on Twitter. And the Spaghetti Coin was yesterday was this. People finally figured out how this works. And basically you lend your money out in a lot of these places and you go through a bunch of hoops. And eventually you dump your money into this vault and you start earning interest on it. So yesterday it was like I was getting like 100% per hour, which means I was doubling my money every hour.
But
yeah, but that
wouldn't
didn't
you have
last
$1 trillion in like 4 hours?
Yeah, these things don't last long. So that was the rate for about 15 minutes.
But it was alive. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the world on the internet figures this out live. This was happening last night at like 10. And everyone else started doing it. So the rate starts going down. And then the spaghetti, everyone started realizing that. And the market sentiment was kind of like, you know what? We're over spaghetti. Everyone started selling pasta. The token's called pasta. And it was the same thing as the yam. So everyone around the world was racing to get their money out of this thing because the market value was plummeting. And like a friend of mine lost like $4,000 in like an hour. And it's just like, it's nuts.
Is it all made up? Like
yeah,
the 100% return every hour. Why?
So that's, it's real for a bit when no one knows about these things because basically they're printing stock for you and the market is making the price of the stock go up. So just by having your money sitting there, you're earning a bunch of stock. The stock's going up. So when you do the math, you're earning those types of numbers. But as soon as people don't like the stock, it flips and it can get negative real fast. So these things are like, this is not what crypto's about. There's way better
the speculation versus the actual investment.
Yeah. This is kind of like the day Portnoy, like degen trading side of everything. But it's fun. And I've been doing it the last month, mainly because it's kind of fun. And it's just a big stream of memes.
Are people just making absurd amounts of money then?
Yeah, some people are making like, they're literally doubling their money every week, which is ridiculous. It's unheard of.
By finding the next meme.
Literally, they're living on 4chan and in Telegram group chats, and they're on Twitter. And, as soon as 4chan takes one over, it blows up and people throw all their money into it, and then the rest of the world figures it out, and then it's a race to get out, and it's just been happening.